Welcome to Pushing for Change, the podcast where the cruising cripples embark on a journey of empowerment, breaking barriers, and inspiring a world where differences are celebrated. Join us as we share stories, discuss challenges, and push for change in the pursuit of a more inclusive and understanding society. Get ready for insightful conversations that challenge perceptions and redefine possibilities. This is the Cruising Cripples, pushing boundaries and forging a path towards a more inclusive future. Let's get rolling. Well, thank you for joining me on the Pushing for Change podcast. I have Franke James and her sister Teresa with us. And they have a book out currently, and it's called Franke and Teresa, a true story about my sister and me. And you can find that on Amazon. It's on Kindle, paperback, hardcover, and audiobook. So tell us a little bit about, I guess, the book and how that all started.
Sure. Well, Teresa is here in the background. You can see Teresa. Okay, so back in 2013, there was a promise by my brother, who I call Conrad in the book, and he had promised to take Teresa when my dad could no longer care for her. Unfortunately, that broken promise led to Teresa being put into a nursing home. So my brother decided for his own reasons that he wasn't able to take Teresa. And then my siblings decided to put Teresa into a nursing home, as maybe they were thinking that it was the easiest solution. But I was horrified and thought, you can't do that. That's against Teresa's human rights. She should be free. She's way too young to be in a nursing home. That would cut off her whole future. But I was the only one who felt that way. And to try to stop my siblings from putting Teresa into the nursing home, Bill and I, my husband and I, volunteered to take Teresa into our homes. And you would think that would make everybody happy and, birds chirping and all that, but it wasn't the case. So my siblings turned down the offer and secretly put Teresa into a nursing home on November 27th, 2013, without my father's knowledge and without Teresa's knowledge of what was happening. They took her out for a nice breakfast and then dropped her off to the nursing home. And I was just flabbergasted. This violated all of my beliefs in the way that we should treat one another. So I talked to my father, and we decided that we were going to try to get Teresa out. And so we called different lawyers and got advice. And finally, 4 days later, on November 30th, 2013, Bill and I walked over to my dad's condo and took him down to the nursing home. And over a matter of a number of hours, asked for the admission papers, which had gotten Teresa put in. And finally, Teresa, my father got the admission papers and realized that he had the legal authority to sign Teresa out. Mm-hmm. And so we thought, wow, this is fantastic. This is marvelous. And we were racing towards the elevator. And then the phone rang at the nurse's station and said, oh, wait, your sister Deirdre wants to see you before you check out. And we didn't wait. We just went straight home, and we were celebrating with Starbucks and so happy to have gotten Teresa out and to get her freedom back again. And Dad was just, he was so happy that we'd been able to do this. And it's kind of neat because it was the first time as an activist that I really felt that I was able to help my dad. And so anyway, just as we're celebrating, my sister Deirdre called my dad and said that he had to send Teresa back to the nursing home, or she would call the police. And it was just horrible. And Dad said, no way. There's no way that I'm sending Teresa back, and I'm ashamed of you and all this stuff. And she said, well, I've got all the paperwork in order. I expect the police to arrive momentarily. And, I've given you your chance, and that's it. Goodbye. And Bill and Dad and Teresa and I were all shocked. Oh my God, could you really do this? Could you really do this? And a few hours later, the police arrived at the door. But in a switch hit, they weren't there to take Teresa away. They were there to take my father away for a psychiatric evaluation. My sister Deirdre had claimed that Dad was suicidal, and so that was a real shocker. And of course, he wasn't. There was no evidence that he was suicidal. He had just rescued Teresa, and he denied it, and we denied it. But that wasn't good enough for the police. They took him away, and really shocking. But anyway, long story short, the end result is that Teresa came to live with Bill and I the very next day, and there have been many, many ups and downs, which I write about in Freeing Teresa, and then in our next book, which we'll hopefully be publishing in 2025, Escape to Lotus Land.
It's an amazing story, just because of the fact, like, you had already before agreed that, okay, you're going to take your sister in. Why do you think that was not a viable option for your siblings?
Well, I think there are two things. There was the power issue that they were, my sister Deirdre was older than me, and who is this like young, sibling who was saying no, and it's not going to work. And so there's that. The group had made the decision, and there was a whole group of people surrounding Teresa who said that she had to go into a nursing home. And I think that the other reason was it was a free ticket for life, that Teresa would have had her, health care and room and board covered for the rest of her life. But at what cost? It's so limiting to be in an institution. I was just horrified.
Certainly, and I don't know how that process works. So I know your sister Teresa is not the only one who I'm sure has experienced something similar to that. So is that what the alternative is? Is if someone can't care for them, they go into an institution?
I think there are many, many options. There are many people with, say, Down syndrome, which Teresa has, who are helped by the system to live in the community, which is according to their human rights. The Canadian Charter says that we're all equal, and the UN Convention on the Rights of people with disabilities says that they have the right to live in the place of their choice, and yet Teresa wasn't given that choice. And initially, when I had this happen to me, I thought that Teresa was the lone exception in this case, that she was being pushed off to a nursing home. And over the years, I've actually discovered that there are many thousands of Teresas across Canada and into the United States and even worldwide. The UN calls it a massive human rights violation.
I know you had put forth a change.org petition and were able to get an apology letter from for that.
Yes. So. Well, okay, but let me tell you about that. Okay, so we thought that we were going to be able to live in Toronto happily ever after, and it wasn't the case. There was so much pushback from my family against us taking Teresa that even though I'd offered peace, they would not accept it. And so we ended up leaving on March 1st. We bought one-way tickets to BC. And we flew out to the other side of the country, BC, to live there. And Teresa, so that was March 1st. So March 21st, she launched the Change.org petition. calling for your human rights to be respected. And we got an outpouring of support, 25,000 people, lovely comments, wonderful. If anybody is ever in a position to sign one of these petitions, please do. It makes an enormous difference. Unfortunately, the government didn't pay attention. And so even though we got so many signatures and such a huge, push, it took another 2 years of campaigning and more media attention to put their foot to the fire and get the Ontario Minister of Health to apologize to Teresa on TV on her birthday, July 22nd, 2016.
Well, if one could ask for a birthday gift, that would be probably the highest of gifts received.
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So with that apology, has anything changed as far as government procedures and policy?
Don't know. I don't know. I would like to say that they have changed. I know that in January 21st, 2014, before we moved to BC, Teresa and I presented to the Select Committee on Developmental Disabilities. So that was a group of members of Parliament in Ontario who were tasked with listening to various people tell their story on the broken system. And I used Teresa's health records and photographs of her to tell her story, and it was really a very, very strong presentation, I must say, because the health records, which we'd only been able to extract from the system within the last few days, it was so tight. Finally, we got them, and we saw that there was so much misinformation on the health records that made it look as though Teresa really was a good candidate for long-term care. So it said that she was incapable, that she couldn't dress her lower body, that she couldn't go to the toilet by herself, and just drew a picture of her as a helpless individual and just a perfect candidate for a nursing home. But it wasn't, in fact, true. And it was a good thing that we saw these health records and we were able to present them to the members of Parliament, who were as shocked as we were that this sort of thing could happen.
Apparently. So how does that go unchecked? Like, okay, who's giving that misinformation? Would that be your siblings then?
Well, I don't like. There was no. It wasn't credited to any particular sibling, but my siblings were the ones who called in and gave reports.
Okay.
But I will say that the Committee on Developmental Services, they issued a final report in July of 2014 and said that nursing homes are pressured to accept people with intellectual disabilities without any need for them to be for this type of care, without any need, and also without any training by their staff. So this is not appropriate for Teresa at all. And I just am, there was this avalanche of bullshit around me. And I'm so glad that I was able to go, no, that's not right. Teresa's healthy and active and she shouldn't be in a long-term care. No, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah, well, it's fortunate that she has an advocate in you, and others probably seemingly also have found an advocate in you by proxy.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, I hope so. I think that the most important thing is that people, like family members who are going through situations like mine, they should believe in themselves that they actually do have the power to stand up and say, no, this isn't right. I object. I want to have let's do this differently, and defend that person. Any normal person in a situation like Teresa's would have a hard time fighting back, but it's multiplied by the fact that Teresa has an intellectual disability. She had no idea what was happening to her and that she was going to be in there forever.
And that's such a disappointing thing. I mean, I say disappointing, but I mean I can't find a more apt adjective, to be taken advantage of because of something you have no control over and essentially manipulated to someone else's whim.
Yeah, well, I think that the to be kind to my siblings' motives, we could say that they thought that she would be cared for the rest of her life, and it was an easy solution for them.
So I guess it's safe to say that there's no greeting cards sent during the holidays or gatherings.
No, they have kept their word. They promised that they would not lift a finger to help if I took Teresa, and they've lived up to their word. They have not lifted a finger, and in fact, for 7 years they didn't pay any support for Teresa, which was due from my father and whose money they controlled.
Well,
But eventually, a court ordered them to pay the support, and it was paid to Teresa.
it's disappointing that courts have to get involved, but I'm glad they were held to account and that was resolved. So you being the primary caretaker, I mean, that's a lot of responsibility on you. Uh, how did you feel taking on that responsibility and knowing that it was going to be, you know, an extended period of care?
Well, the thing is that I never expected that I would have to be Teresa's protector and defender and all that. But I have jumped into the role, and I've, like Teresa and I have grown so close, and I now brush her hair and make her breakfast and, help her in every way that I can. And it feels good, but I needed to grow into that role. It wasn't something initially that I saw myself doing. And like initially, I definitely could defend her, but I didn't realize, or it just has taken a lot of growth to grow into that caregiver role. And I
Sure. I
must
mean,
say that it's wonderful.
yeah, I mean, nobody thinks that's something that's going to be added to their plate when they have their own life and their own responsibilities and things along
Yeah.
those lines. So I'm just curious, in that process, like if you could look back now and the growth that you've experienced, what would you have told your younger self in that moment?
I would have patted me on the back and I would say, "Don't worry, you're going to be fine. Just trust your instincts. Just be kind, be patient." And the one thing about dealing with Teresa is that, for example, you can ask her a question and it seems like she doesn't understand, and 2 days later she'll come up with the answer, and it just is amazing. And Bill, my husband, and I have helped Teresa to become an artist and to express herself through her self talk poetry. And it's really wonderful to see the very sophisticated ideas that she has told in these poems, like things like staying in shape. I don't want to go outside. It's good for you.
Very good life lessons there.
Yes.
And what I've always appreciated, having a physical disability, but also growing up with um, in school, having people with different abilities, whether they're cognitive or physical. I've often thought, yes, their cognitive abilities may be different, but they're still a person, they're still human, they still love, they still hate, they still feel, and it might just take them a little bit longer to express that or show what their capabilities are and to not underestimate their potential.
Yes, I think that's so true. So back in I think it was 2012, my husband and Teresa and I all went to a play called Rare. And that Rare was written and performed by people with Down syndrome. And they were telling their stories of heartbreak and love and ambition. And it was just wonderful. Like people could really connect to those stories and realize that they had the same dreams and hopes as any of us. And that's certainly what I found with Teresa. She's just been a pleasure to live with and to see how she's blossomed.
Yeah. Well, in the contrast, you talk about your siblings, and they thought, oh, well, it'll be easier to do this thing, and sometimes the easy thing isn't the right thing.
That's what I think.
And I think the world at large kind of maybe needs to take that vantage point that it's not always it's not always easy to do what's right, and it's not always right to do what's easy.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, the thing is that none of us would want to be in that position where we were forced into a nursing home at a young age. You'd go, what? This is crazy. This is nuts. And, so when I put myself in her shoes, I didn't think it was fair to Teresa. And, and thank God I was able, and Bill and I and my dad were able to get Teresa out.
So
And
during this whole process, um, yeah, I don't want you necessarily to speak for Teresa, but I understand situations may call for that. What would you say was her reaction to this? Was she upset? Were there visible signs of her being upset, or was it more just she was just going with the flow? Like, I'm
well,
interested.
that's interesting. The thing is that because we had the medical records, we were able to see that the nurses had written down, patient Teresa is crying and upset. She wants to go home, right? She had a sleepless night. And so there was this, sort of trauma that Teresa was experiencing. But when we went to visit her, um, she was enjoying having the multiple desserts that were offered to her. And we had to say, Teresa, do you really want to be here forever? It'd be good, Dad is your ticket out of here. Do you want to come with us today? And Teresa had to think about it.
Mhm.
And I could. And in the book, you see that sort of ambivalence. So it was very tricky. But the things that she's done, we did get Teresa. The things that she has done since that day when we rescued her, November 30th, 2013, are just remarkable. I mean, she's published 2 art and self-talk poetry books. She's won awards. She's gotten a government apology. She's been named a champion for change by the Human Rights Commissioner. I mean, any of these things to have on your resume would be pretty good, but to have all of them there is gobsmacking amazing.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a more extensive resume than I can certainly say for myself.
I think so.
Now, you say she does spoken poetry and such. Is there a website that people can go to find that artwork and poems?
Yes, teresaheartchild.com. And the Teresa is spelled without an H. Teresa, heart child. And you can see some of these poems here. Eyes of the Tiger is one of her favorites.
I love it
And
being from the Philly area, having that Rocky theme. Um, I can appreciate that.
yeah, so it's pretty exciting. Um, Free to be me. Here I am dancing and fooling around. Gotta watch it. I got to protect my body. Thank you. I'm just having fun. What? You're quite cute. Quite cute. I'm just being me. You're being weird. We're just being silly. I'm just having fun. You are weird but beautiful. Thank you. I'm just being me. Free to be me. And that's what a lovely poem. And so a lot of times people will hear people with Down syndrome do self-talk and think that it's just gibberish and it doesn't make any sense at all. And we actually recorded Teresa and transcribed her words from the self-talk And then she made them into the poems that we have in this book. And they're just so powerful. And they really do connect and talk about important feelings that we all have, really universal feelings, feelings about being loved and wanting to lose weight and not wanting to lose weight.
That's really just such an amazing perspective that she holds, that this situation seems to have brought that out. Like, I don't know,
Yes, absolutely.
through bad things, good things can come, and this really has shown her personality, her creativity, and her abilities.
Yes, absolutely.
Uh,
Yes. So one book is called Pretty Amazing: How I Found Myself in the Downtown East Side. And the 2018 book is called, um, let me see, Totally Amazing, Free to Be Me. And then Teresa has actually contributed to the Freeing Teresa book,
Okay,
which is my book and my story of what happened. And but Teresa contributed poems and drawings, which are in the book.
that's fantastic. Now, the book, you also have an audiobook version of that out.
Yes, that's right.
I'm curious how it was chosen, who was going to read the different parts of each person that was represented
Right, right.
in the book,
So
how that was chosen.
so many authors choose to narrate their own book. But the fact is that I thought, oh my God, I don't want to say my sister's and my brother's words, and I don't want to use a funny accent to make it then people understand that it's a different person. I've got to get actors. And so my husband agreed with me. And so we found 13 actors to play the different roles. And Jackie Blackmore played me, and she just has a beautiful voice. And so, an actress saying the words, she's got highs and lows to her sentences. She's fantastic. I just couldn't have done it as well as her. And for Teresa, we went to Lauren Potter, who is a U.S. Star, and she played in Glee for many years.
Okay.
Right? So Lauren Potter is the voice of Teresa, and she does it beautifully. She's just so authentic. And the fact that she has Down syndrome is, you can hear it in her voice a little bit, and it's just got so much resonance. And the one thing that's different about her and Teresa is she actually follows directions. Teresa doesn't.
Well, and that's what I like about an audiobook specifically, is that you get the different inflections. You can get the tone as opposed to, just, reading it yourself and trying to, decipher that. You really get um, a more in tune version through the audiobook, which I enjoyed.
Yes. Yes, it really sets the stage for the scenes. You can hear the different characters, and all the actors that we chose, they've got very different voices, so you're not going to get them mixed up who's saying what when.
Right, right. So with the book, how has that impacted your relationship, if at all, with Teresa?
Teresa comes to book signings with me, and she's signing the book alongside me, and she just loves it. She's a real ham on stage, and she'll hold up the book, and she loves it.
A celebrity in her own respect, right?
Absolutely.
That's great. Fantastic. Well, I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I do appreciate you taking the time this afternoon. Just one question before we go. Was there anything that we didn't discuss that you would like people to know?
The response has been really tremendous to the book, and we've actually won 15 awards, if you can believe it, 15 book awards. And one of them is for the audiobook. So we're delighted. We're going to be going to New York to accept the award in May of 2025. Even Teresa is coming with us. Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to tell you about Teresa's experience. Really appreciate it.
Oh, it's appreciated by me. I know my listeners will enjoy it. Again, just thank you so much for your time. I wish you continued success, with that, and look forward to seeing all the things that are to come.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. As we wrap up another episode of Pushing for Change, we want to express our gratitude for joining us on this transformative journey. Keep on rolling with the Cruising Cripples, and remember, change starts with conversation. If you enjoyed today's episode, share and subscribe. Let's keep the momentum going and continue pushing for a world where everyone's journey is celebrated. Until next time, keep on rolling and pushing for change.